The coronavirus is still here, and in this episode, I've got a legal team that's gonna help us learn how we can become and stay being from the neighborhood. Today, I'm asking questions to the legal team at MMPS Law, Malvrides, Moyal, Pacman, and Satkin. Who are we speaking to today?
So I've been managing foreclosure departments in this law firm and a prior law firm for about 10 years. I've been an attorney for that period of time. I have participated in approximately 25 to 30,000 foreclosures. I have a lot of experience on both sides of the real estate field as it relates to mortgages.
I'm the managing paralegal at Malvrides, Moyal, Pacman, and Satkin. We have about 30 attorneys currently there, and we do everything residential. You name it, we do it. I've been supporting attorneys for about 20 plus years now. I don't want to say exact anymore because it gives away my age. So I've decided I'm just going to say 20 plus.
And our goal is to try to educate our public and have them understand what it is that they can expect from what's happening right now. You know, what can they expect from their attorneys? What can they expect from city? So what events have happened in the past that you could relate to right now that would give you a good feeling, say that COVID-19 isn't going to be the end of helping people getting into homes?
No, I mean, we've seen similar situations in Sandy. It's reminiscent, but Sandy was more area specific and was more, affected certain places. It certainly didn't have the shutdown similar to this, but there were a lot of holds put in place and those type of things during that Sandy period, but it certainly lasted a much shorter period of time.
We have a moratorium in place, which is on foreclosures, it's on evictions, but I still see that there is a possibility for people to later on end up in foreclosure. Is there any chance that we may lose 90 days?
The moratorium, you have 90 days.
90 days.
I do not see the governor retracting his executive order to a shorter period of time.
We're obviously talking about people who've been on time with their mortgage this entire time. So now we're coming up to a point where they're saying, well, could I pay this come April 1st? What is the lender expecting come April 1st? Are they expecting to see their mortgage paid?
I think the lender is expecting to see the mortgage paid outside of having a hardship. So if you go back in and you say to the lender, well, I lost my job, or I'm on temporary furlough, or I'm just temporarily laid off and I can't make the payment. That's one thing. I mean, if you have the wherewithal to make the payment, I would make the payment.
How do they find out if they're Fannie or Freddie owned and if they're eligible for this program?
Well, again, I would call your lender. Calling your lender will give you the best knowledge as to what your options are. The vast majority of loans, residential single-family loans, are owned by Fannie or Freddie. But again, your lender is required by Fannie or Freddie, pursuant to the servicing guidelines, to let you know that you have these options available to you.
So you heard the attorney's advice from my call, but I actually found two different web pages, one on Freddie Mac and the other one on Fannie Mae, and it'll help you look up your loan. Just pop in your information. It's called the Loan Lookup tool, and you'll be able to find out if your loan is owned by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. Back then, when there was this recession and we had the loan crisis, hardships were loss of job, death in the family, divorce, things that were that type. Are we just talking about loss of job, or are we also including the illness if you did contract the virus?
We're absolutely including the illness. I think you even have a greater hardship if you either have the illness itself or a family member who's afflicted by the illness that you're helping out, which is causing a hardship for you, whether in way of not being able to attend work or not being able to attend to whatever way you make your money to pay the mortgage.
So I'm gonna switch back now to multifamilies. I just wanna know, because we're living in New York City, there's a lot of multifamily housing. We have two different categories. We have the landlord who lives in the multifamily, right? Say they have a 2 or 3 family house, sticking strictly to residential, even a 4 family, right? They live inside of a 4-unit house. They live inside of a multifamily. Then you have the landlord that does not live inside this property. Focusing on the one who lives in the property, if they're not able to make the payment for the same reasons, that having issues with the workplace, what options are there for that person, and how would that person have to prove the hardship that the renters aren't paying? Eric?
So I would think it's the same hardship, right? So we don't really have to go back through what the hardship is, but the renter can't be evicted. We know that, right? For at least 90 days.
Right.
I would think in proving that hardship, you would go to the landlord, explain the situation, and prove your hardship, and have a discussion. A lot of this is about having discussions, right? And those discussions, I think, are easier than having that discussion with your bank, right? Your landlord is somebody you know, somebody you've interacted with, somebody who understands the situation. And as long as it's not I just don't want to pay my rent situation, you're okay. I can't say you're okay. I can't say that the landlord is not going to require that rent at a later time, but it's a discussion, right? And that's the discussion I would have.
You're saying would essentially be a discussion with the tenant, having the tenant provide the hardship to the landlord, and the landlord package it to then provide it to the mortgage. So basically we can avoid this domino effect, right?
Correct.
So there's residential property which is held by commercial entities, and they may have obtained commercial financing for it. Are these commercial financing programs also participating in the moratorium?
The moratorium does not, from what I can see, apply to commercial loans.
Right.
So that's even more of a conversation, because if the lender is not required to participate, but a lender always wants to be paid.
So what do you see as some of the biggest hurdles for new and pending transactions?
I think our biggest hurdle, quite honestly, right now is the county clerks being closed, because that's significant delays with titles and things being recorded and tax contends.
So real estate's a very collaborative type of work. What are some of the ways you're seeing that banks are innovating in order to help move along the progress and ultimately reach a closing?
Well, from my understanding, banks and loan officers, I'm sure, and mortgage brokers can contribute much more to what I'm saying. But what I'm seeing from across the board, our banks are also getting creative in implementing systems to help. For example, there's a couple of banks that I just recently saw, they approved drive-by appraisals.
Interesting.
Which I find interesting.
Yeah.
I think that if that can be done, that would be very helpful to keep things moving along. There are also several banks are in the process of setting up virtual notaries. So this way, send the loan documents to the buyer and let everything be done via virtual abilities.
Are banks extending rate locks? Are they letting people still close on the same terms? Because a lot of people went in for refinance and purchase decisions right at that time where we had the dip. Right? We had a major dip in the mortgage rate and people locked in. What's happening with those rates?
I am seeing a lot of the banks waiving extension fees. I have seen a whole lot of it. I just got off of a call before this call with another lender saying that they agreed to extend the rate for 30 days at no cost to the buyer.
Oh, wow.
So, I think, again, everybody is very sympathetic to the situation that we're all dealing with. I mean, this is across the board.
Right.
So I'm hopeful that we'll see a lot more of that,
Right.
but I don't know if that's just specific lenders that are permitting that, or everybody is going to jump on board and do that for our borrowers.
When you look at folks who are in this process of the contract, are we seeing a lot of contract extensions for those that aren't close to closing? Are we seeing people being lenient about it? What are you seeing out there?
Well, I know on my end with the purchase and sales, we're definitely seeing a lot of patience. I do not see other attorneys actively, aggressively pushing for closings, because we are technically in a shutdown, per se. 100% of employees cannot, unless you're an essential business, cannot report to work. So we have management companies that are closed. We have the county clerks that are closed. I mean, there are a lot of hurdles that we have to overcome.
New York City has a lot of co-ops. I mean, it's probably like the capital. What are some of the things that people should expect when they're entering a purchase transaction in which they're buying a co-op apartment?
If you're purchasing a co-op now during this situation, really just be patient with those delays, because we're going to see more delays on the co-op end, I think, than any other side of real estate, because of a few reasons. Management companies are not essential businesses, so companies are currently closed. As far as closings, remember, there's original documents that are needed: the original stock certificate, the original proprietary lease. All those documents are located at the transfer agent's office. So if their office is closed, they don't have access to that. On another end that we're going to see delays are the board interviews itself.
NYSAR recently put out a addendum or sort of rider to a contract regarding COVID-19. Have you guys seen that?
Yes, we actually started using a COVID-19 addendum for our purchasers that is now being attached to every contract. That's going to extend the time contingencies in the contract at least to 30 days, for 30 days out. And then we'll take it from there with an option of a further extension if we are still in this shutdown period.
So we all know that addendum is an addition to the contract. So with this one, are you seeing it as something that's widely accepted?
I can tell you I have gotten some pushback from sellers' attorneys to include that language, and we are tweaking it a bit. So there's nothing set in stone with an addendum yet. It's always negotiated, but we're trying our best to make sure that all of that language is included.
So closings are typically with having everyone in the room. So how are closings happening when you just can't get everyone in one room?
If FedEx, UPS stop, we're in trouble.
Okay.
No, I mean, we're definitely FedExing documents back and forth. We have closers in our office that have not given up. They are going to closings. They are, they are going wherever it takes to get it done.
Wow.
We're very thankful for them. We do have some loyal people that work with us, and they're doing everything safely. Wow. They have their gloves, their masks, their sanitizer, but they're still out there in the trenches, and they are getting closings done. They're picking up keys, dropping them off. They're picking up power of attorneys, original documents. And just kind of facilitating it the best that we can.
I want to thank you guys and MMPS for giving you guys the time to talk to me about this. And if there's any closing statement you guys want to say, feel free to let me know.
I just want to say thank you, Anthony, for doing this, for taking the time and informing the community. It's so important that professionals like you with the knowledge and the expertise that you have, and I'm grateful for you for that, for giving us the ability to participate as well. We want to give good information, and hopefully we've done that.
I'm sure this was very helpful. Make sure to drop a comment below, and don't forget to click on subscribe, because I'll be seeing you back in the neighborhood.